Please be advised that this content contains references to alcohol and other drugs, which may be triggering for some audiences. We recognize that discussions surrounding substance use can be sensitive and potentially evoke strong emotional responses.
Viewer discretion is advised, and we encourage those who may be affected to prioritize their well-being and seek support if needed.
Welcome to the podcast. We're kicking off the 4th season of the podcast, a space designed to have raw, real, and authentic conversations around health and wellness, featuring none other than our incredible pure ambassadors of wellness.
Hi everyone, I'm Simran.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rainy.
Hi, I'm Andy.
So we'll start with, how do you think college campuses can better educate about alcohol and other drug use?
So I think in general, just telling students about the impacts of alcohol and drugs and the way that they can change your entire college experience is a good start. I know that when I first started my Fresno State journey, they had this tabling event, and they had us pouring alcohol. You could either do like a shot or like a glass of wine to see how accurate your pours were, if it was like one serving or more than one. So that was a kind of an interesting way to just show us about alcohol and how you might think you're just having one glass, but you could actually be having 3.
So I think college campuses should be the primary source of clear, concise, and confidential information that's factual. I know there's a lot of misinformation out in the internet, so I feel like students should have the availability and the resources to go to their college campus for information that's very clear and factual.
I haven't seen any tabling like that. I mean, I'm a bit younger than you, I think, so I don't think I've seen that in my years here. So I think that would definitely be something to bring to the campus. I would say I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, more tabling, educating students. Perhaps you know how we have to do the sexual assault prevention training and things like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe adding in another more focused component about alcohol use and knowing your limits, knowing how to say no if you're not comfortable in the environment or something like that.
Definitely, that's a great idea.
I think you're right. College campuses, especially because I think for younger people, there's this expectation of what college is. And to have that assumption, it doesn't exactly match what the reality is. So to actually have, scientific, these are statistics, these are facts, that this is how it all works.
Yeah, college campus should be the safe place to go for information.
Exactly.
All right. There isn't one specific track to navigate sobriety and peer pressure. What are ways that you draw healthy boundaries?
I think for me the biggest thing is just knowing what my own limitations are. I used to, this is so bad, I used to really want to drink a lot more because I thought it was cool, it was fun. I realized very quickly once I was in an environment that really promoted that, I didn't actually like it. So I just stayed away from it. Even if my friends or any family members partake in it, I know that I don't want to, so I would respect if you could respect my wishes, and then if they can't, then I have to take myself out of that environment.
Yeah, for sure. I think if I'm in an environment and my friends are come take a shot with us or drink, and I might be you know what, I'm just not feeling it, or I might have to go to work or something like that. I just feel I surround myself with people who I know I feel comfortable saying no to and who won't pressure me. And I think that can sometimes be kind of scary to think about, I only want to surround myself with people like that, but that's the truth. I don't want to be around people who would make me feel bad about not drinking with them. Oh, you're lame, you're boring, and I'll be no. I just can't. So I think I really try to make sure I'm around people who support me in that way. For people who might not have that same situation, I think it's a good way to reflect and think are these the right people for me to be around if they're not respecting my own boundaries.
Yeah, I agree with that. You definitely have to get to know yourself and have that respect for yourself and for others. And if you're not comfortable in an environment, definitely leave and just have that notion of where you're at in the moment.
Exactly. And you're still cool. It's okay.
for me personally, I have kids, so they're kind of my fallback, my excuse to get out of things. I have to make good decisions for my kids, but I want to make good decisions for my kids also. There was a chapter in my life where I was drinking, and of course of age, and I found myself surrounded by the wrong group. And I saw that it was a slippery slope. I saw some friends making not great choices, and I didn't want to go down that path. And I had to kind of, like you said, evaluate, am I really around the right people? And then make the choices to redesign my friend group. So it's a good way to reflect on who you're surrounding yourself with, and if your morals align and you have the same goals.
It can definitely be like scary to really be like, maybe these aren't the right people for me, but ultimately it's the better decision in the end.
Absolutely.
Good for you on
thank you.
that.
It definitely can feel isolating. So for anyone watching, if you might be needing to reevaluate your group, your social circle, take that plunge and just think about what you want in life and how you can change the people who are around you to better align with what your goals are.
Well said.
Thank you.
So, mindful moments. Share a personal experience where you found joy or relaxation without the need for alcohol or drugs. What made that moment special?
Yeah, this is actually a very recent. I recently celebrated my 21st birthday, and I had a big birthday party with a lot of my friends. The only thing was, since it was at a venue with people under 21, we couldn't serve any alcohol. So I was really worried. I was like, I don't want people to be like, why are we having a 21st with no drinks? But I think, like I said, I'm surrounded by people who know that alcohol isn't the only way to have fun. You can have fun with just the people around you, sharing those moments. So ultimately, I had a really good time with everyone. We danced, we just hung out, socialized, and there wasn't a need to drink to have fun.
So I'm a huge reader. It's a problem, but I just one of my friends and I, we just decided to have a picnic day. So when we just, instead of going to the bar, we just went out to this great park, had a blanket, had food, and we just all silently read, which makes me sound like such a nerd. But it was just fun. We got to be together quietly, and introverts love that. It's just a way to feel social presence without actually having to feel like you have to engage in something, and to just take that time. I was in nature, it was nice, and we didn't even, you don't have to do drugs or alcohol to be cool. And if you want to, that is your choice. I'm not going to diss it, but yeah.
For me, I hang out with my kids in my free time. I'm a pretty straight and narrow kind of person. I don't drink. I do come from a background where I had an alcoholic for a parent, and my other parent was an addict of other drugs. And so I don't want to follow in those footsteps. I want to stay on the straight and narrow, and I want to show my kids that they can have fun without being under the influence of anything. Life is such a fun journey, truly it is. And just showing them all the fun ways to live life, and to the fullest. We're just having a great time. So I think, and what makes any of these moments special, I get to hang out with my kids. Are you kidding? My little creations, my mini-me's. So it's a good time.
What are some things you like to do with them for fun?
Oh, just this past weekend we made slime, and it was the best time. I don't know if slime with a 2-year-old was on my radar, but she really loved just how sticky it was, and she's like, my icky, sticky slime. So that's a fun memory. My son is all into science, so he was like, look at it. It's getting all, how it clumps into one piece, and as he's mixing and, watching them mix in glitter and little beads, and it was just so much fun, and they've been playing with it all weekend. So one little experiment thing turned into a weekend of fun.
So personally, sometimes when I go on vacation, you see all these people partying, in their hotel rooms and out by the beach and pool and stuff. But sometimes you can go have fun and do all that without the drinking or anything like that. It can be even more fun. Go on the water slides, go swim. You can do everything
And you also remember your experiences at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
you do. You do remember everything you did at the end of the day, and you can look back and feel proud of yourself that you went out and did all these things, and you came back home safe.
Exactly. Because, like, I get it. It can be tempting, and there's a lot of, like, especially after, I feel like there are people who have struggled in the past, and then, like, they had to get sober, and then also taking the space to, like, care for them, be like, hey guys, like, we can make this a no drink zone, like, it's okay. It's also taking care of them and their sobriety when you know that they might be at a higher risk of relapsing.
Most definitely.
Part 1 of question 5. Let's get real. Can you speak to an experience where you either had to personally navigate or helped another individual navigate drug addiction or dependency on drugs?
All right, well, we're going to get real. I do, like I mentioned, I have 2 parents who both struggled with addiction, one with alcohol, one with other drugs, and I have one parent who's still in my life who is still navigating their journey. While this parent is no longer drinking, they have started to abuse other drugs. And I think for me, setting those boundaries of like, hey, I don't want this in my life, I don't want it around me, you've got to choose. It's hard. Don't get me wrong, it's difficult, but there's resources, and knowing that I don't want my kids around it, even though it doesn't necessarily directly impact them, they're smart and they can sense that something's going on. So I think, I don't know, just setting those boundaries and letting my parent know that you're grown and you've got to make your own choices, but your choices don't have to impact me. So yeah, staying strong in that journey of, again, just setting boundaries and having the right people in my life. Yeah.
That got real.
It got real.
Exactly. Like, taking that time for yourself, especially when you are in that situation, it's really important, because a lot of my extended family are high functioning alcoholics, and that makes them like kind of more like, oh, like, it's not actually an issue. I can still go to work. I can still do everything that I'm doing. So what if I have, like, drinks when I come home? Or so what? I can still function and do the same things. And really getting to know the spaces where you should say something, but then also where at the end of the day, you are not responsible for someone else's, like, struggles or issues. You can just help them. They have to also want to get better themselves. You can't force that on anyone, and that can actually build resentment and, like, in some cases, hatred of, like, why do you keep trying to police me when I am doing okay in my life? And at the end of the day, like, it's taking care of yourself, putting energy into something that they don't want, and it's just hurting you. Sometimes you just have to take yourself out of that environment.
Most definitely. Yes, Simran. If they don't feel the need to help themselves, it's very difficult for you to offer that support and for them to take it, because it's very, it consumes a lot of your energy and a lot of your mental health as well, to be constantly offering that support and them constantly neglecting it or rejecting it. So it affects you as well as that person. So just be there, and if they change their mind, you can of course help them, but primarily make sure that you're okay with it.
Exactly. Like, be ready to help when they're also ready to get help.
Yes, definitely.
Like I said, I feel like I'm around a lot of like-minded people, so I'm not really around a lot of people who, drink or abuse drugs. I think my own experiences would be, since I work in an ER, I've seen people come in with, they might overdose on something, they might be going through like alcohol withdrawals. So I think those are the only times I've really seen like it in action. But I think from that experience, I've seen the difficult journey. People will be like, they get admitted to our psych ward because they don't know how to take care of themselves because they're so past the point. They're abusing meth, things like that. Or people who come in for alcohol withdrawals, having seizures, things like that. So just seeing the care that goes into that and how long that journey can really take, for someone to really recover. I think that has kind of put me in that mindset like you, where I'm I don't really want to ever get to a point like that. I just kind of, keep it clean, no alcohol, no drugs or anything like that.
Yeah. Got really real.
Got real.
Yeah.
Personally, I've lived with someone who struggled with depression and alcohol addiction, so it's been on and off, and everyone's journey is most definitely different. Not everyone's the same. Not everyone deals with like the same mental illness, the same situation, and the same environment, so it's definitely a process. And throughout that process, I've learned that not only do you have to try to take care of that special person, especially like if there's someone really close to you, whether it may be rehab, whether it may be counseling, hospitalizations, offering that support is definitely important. But I feel it also a necessity to take care of yourself and be mindful of your own health. Don't neglect yourself. Always take a wellness check for yourself, because it might seem like at a certain point it starts to revolve around a single person, which, there's you in that situation. So you also got to make sure that you're okay so you can help someone else primarily. Part 2, we know it's not a one-size-fits-all solution for navigating drug addiction. We also know that our actions do affect others who care for us. What would you say to someone who may be experiencing this right now?
I think it's really important to not be afraid to, get help or ask for help. I think, like I said, I've seen those situations where people are so addicted to drugs or alcohol that it affects their livelihood. They're on the streets. They don't have family to depend on because people have given up on them. So I think it's really important to know, like, help is out there for anyone who needs it, and to use those resources, whether, it's getting in touch with someone from social services or even going to an ER and being like, I need help. They can redirect you in the right way. But I think people are just afraid, understandably, to show that kind of, I guess, I don't know how to say it, like, not weak-minded, but they might be afraid to show that they are struggling with something. So I think it's important to know, like, help is there for everyone who needs it, and it's up to you whether or not you want to take that step, but there's nothing wrong with doing it. Yeah.
I'd say to anyone, like, it gets better. You can struggle, you can slip up, you can face a whole lot of issues when you're actually trying to, like, get better yourselves. Like, even in some cases, people who you thought were your friends might actually end up trying to pull you down. And you really have to get used to knowing what is working for you and how that looks for you, because it's hard work. And it's honestly an everyday battle. Like, you can't be like, oh, you know what, I've been sober for like 20 years. I can have a drink now. It doesn't work like that for everyone. And in a lot of cases, that is more, it hurts more because you were doing so well. That doesn't mean that you can't get up after that too, but it does get better. Take time, give yourself grace, and take care of yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think that level of vulnerability is important. There's such a huge stigma around drug use once you get to a certain point that it can be hard to ask for help. That's for sure. Oh man, I think I would just stand firm in, like, setting boundaries for yourself, for people around you, and holding them. Because something I struggled with was, like, I'm like, yeah, this is my boundary. Yeah. And then someone would cross that boundary and I'm like, wait, I got to follow through. Oh, man. And that was hard for me. So I think maintaining your boundaries, understanding that, like, it's okay. Like, the stigma doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. If you want to change, make the change. If you want someone else to change, you don't have that power. Let that go. You cannot tell someone else that they have to change. Well, you can tell them they have to change, but
It's up to them.
Yeah, most definitely. Sometimes it can feel like a constant disappointment or a gloom you feel when you think it's going to get better, or it is better for a certain time, and then suddenly it all goes south again and you feel like, why when they said they were going to promise to do something, they don't keep it? So it's very difficult mentally to deal with that, and I understand for students or other people who are going through that situation, which is very difficult to go through that disappointment. It's a range of emotions you feel. Not everyone has the same, but I can definitely relate to that. But just know that it's a long process. It may or may not and in the same expectations that you think it will. So just keep an open mind. Keep an open mind, take care of yourself, and if I can offer a piece of information, don't isolate yourself. Please rely on the people offering support. Rely on those people. And if you don't have that support, please find someone who will. Find that support for yourself, for the person.
Especially because it can be so highly rewarding. Like, I know one of my friends who, at the end of the day, she got through the day and she was like, I didn't even think about, like, taking anything once. And that, for her, no matter, and she struggled later on, of course she did, but that one day she was just like, oh my God, like, is this what some other people do every single day? Like, they just don't think about alcohol, they don't think about drugs, they just get through the day and it's their life. And I'm like, yeah, that euphoria and that, like, elation at the end of it, I think that's what, like, keeps people going. Because I feel like most people don't do it for themselves. They're doing it because they realize their actions are hurting other people that they love, that they care about, and it makes them happy too, you know?
It really does. It's key to be transparent and say the things that you want to get done, because sometimes that is the quickest way to get help and to make the process go a little easier with just the transparency.
It's okay. If you struggle, that's also okay. Just don't hide it.
Yes, please don't. That just injures you even more. So being transparent will bring lots of good.
Make sure you're following us on Instagram at FS Health Center, where we're going to share more opportunities to take that deeper dive into wellness and to have some fun at the same time. You can also visit our website at fresnostate.edu/health to learn more about the programs and services available at the Student Health and Counseling Center.